Hello everybody, welcome back to another Jimmy Giardiniera, the SQL Extraordinaire video. I haven't done one of these in quite a long time. I think it's been about a year, so excited to be making another. I'd like to get more in the habit of being a little bit more consistent with doing these, so hopefully I can start to do some more and we can learn SQL together. In this one, I'm going to be doing Hopper Company Queries number 3. I believe I did the first 2 already, so this will just finish up the Hopper Company Queries questions on Leetcode. This is an Uber question rated hard, and I'll go through basically how I approach the problem and how I work to solve it. And then if you have any questions or any suggestions or anything that you want to chat about, be sure to put it in the comments. So let's get started. The first thing that we'll do is walk through the question and walk through the tables that are available to us and then walk through the answer that it's looking for. That way we kind of get an idea of how to structure our query. If you notice that I'm looking this way, it's because like this is the screen that you're seeing right now. So sorry about that if that looks a little weird. Anyways, let's first read the problem. So what we want to do here is we want to write a solution to compute the average ride distance and average ride duration of every 3-month window, starting from January to March 2020 to October to December 2020. We want to round the average ride distance and average ride duration to the nearest 2 decimal places. So we'll make sure that we add a round function to our query. Return the result table ordered by month in ascending order, where month is the starting month's number, January is 1, February is 2, etc. And the result format should be in this example. So it looks like we get a driver's table. Doesn't look like this really matters to us. A rides table and an accepted rides table. So all of these rides have been requested, but only a certain amount have been accepted. So it looks like we want a combination of the rides table and the accepted rides table, and then we want to output something like this. So for every month, we want the rides that happened within a 3-month window and what the average ride duration was and what the average ride distance was. So it looks like, for example, in January, there was no rides in January, which we can see here. There was a ride in February, which is ride ID number 1, but it doesn't look like that ride was accepted. So 0 rides in February. And then there looks like 1 ride in March. So if I look at March here, ride 10, there's ride 10 in the accepted rides table. It has a duration of 63, or a duration of 38 and a distance of 63. And so as we can see in month 1, we have 21 and 1267. Because of that ride in March. So simple enough. Let's get to writing the query. So the first thing that I like to do always is kind of just get a sense of what the data looks like. We see it here, but just as kind of like a warm-up, select star from, let's see, rides, and we'll run this. Oops. Okay, so we have our drive date, join date, so it's basically everything that looks here. Rides, accepted rides, and then the output and the expected. Okay. So I think the first thing that I want to do is I want to figure out, it looks like they want us only, they give us the windows we're looking at. This isn't something dynamically that's going to change with different input. Like it's not going to say, hey, based on all the months in the rides table or accepted rides table, give us windows based on those. It's saying we want windows starting from January to March 2020 and October to December 2020. So what I first want to do is I want to get a list of all rides that were accepted in the year 2020 and their like duration and distance. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a CTE, common table expression. This will allow me to build like a smaller data set. So I'm taking all the data available to me and then paring it down based on my criteria. So with accepted rides as, and what I want to do is I want to select the month. Let me scroll down here to see this better. Month of the requested at column as the month. So I know that the ride happened in this month. Then I want the ride distance, and I want the ride duration. I want to pull this from the rides table, and I'm going to use an inner join on the accepted rides table on r.rideid is equal to ar.rideid. And so what I'm doing here is I'm finding the month, the distance, and the duration for every ride from the ride table that also exists in the accepted rides table. Since I'm using an inner join, that ride has to exist in both of those tables to make it into my data set here. So I know that that ride was accepted. And so now I know that I only need rides that are in the year 2020. So I can do and year of the requested at column is equal to 2020. So this gives me, again, another chance to bring down the amount of data that I'm pulling in, and this should make it a little bit more performant. And yes, and so this is our first CTE. So now we have a list of all rides that were accepted and in the year 2020. And so now we want to build out our rolling windows. There's probably other ways to do this. You could do like a recursive CTE. That way you don't have to like write out as much. But I'm going to like explicitly detail out my windows just to make it a little bit more intuitive and just to make it a little bit more readable. And so what I'll do is I'll create a rolling window CTE. In order to create, like you can create multiple CTEs in a query. All you have to do is just add a comma and then another as. You don't have to include this with, which is nice. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically create like a bunch of static windows. So I'm going to select 1 as my starting month, and then 3 as my ending month. And I don't have to obviously like specify a table or anything like that. I already know that this is like this is my window 1 to 3, and that's the first one. And then I'm going to union, and I'm going to do the next one. So 2 as my starting month, 4 as my ending month, and you kind of get the picture there. And the reason I'm using 1 or 2 and 1 and 3 and whatever, like why I'm using numeric values, is because I know that I'm getting this month value here as a numeric value. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste this a bunch of times. That way I don't bore you with all of my typing, even though my keyboard sounds pretty crisp. And I'm just going to update all of these. So I want to do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and which I want to go to October. So I want to go to 10. So let's keep it going. 8, 9, and then it should be 10. So 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I'll update all of these. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay. And so if I wanted to get a sense of what this looks like, let me just do a select star from rolling window. I can run this and we'll see what this spits out. So as you can see here in the expected, or sorry, not the expected, what my output is, I have now this window, or I have this table that is essentially all of the windows that I need to care about. So I have 1 to 3, 2 to 4, 3 to 5, etc. So now I just have to put it all together, like pretty easy. And so what I want to do is I want to do select. I want to do select starting month as month, and this is from my RW table, which will be my rolling window table. I like to alias all of my tables, especially if I'm using multiple in a query. Very easy to read, very easy to figure out how to like troubleshoot or where you want to know where a column's coming from. And then I'm going to do a sum of accepted rides dot ride. Which one do I need first? I need the ride distance. So ride distance divided by 3. I need to make sure to round, so I'm going to use the round function, round as ride distance. And And I'll do the same for duration. So sum AR ride duration to average ride duration. And then we'll do average ride distance. And I'm going to do this from my rolling window table. The reason I'm doing it from here is because I need essentially the first window. I need January as my starting window. It doesn't exist in the accepted rides table, and so by doing it from this rolling window table, or I actually don't need this. By building it off of the rolling window table, it's going to take every column from there anyway. Then I'm going to do a left join to the accepted rides table. And I'm going to do that on accepted rides dot month is between the starting month and the ending month. And then let's run this and see what we get. And then I'll explain kind of why I did that. So wrong answer. Oh, duh. So I need to group by, obviously, the starting month. I was just grouping by everything, which kind of makes sense. So this was accepted. This looks good. We matched their output. And so what I'm doing here is I'm taking the starting month, and I'm going to want each one from this rolling window table. Then for any ride in the accepted rides table, if it's between the starting month and the ending month, so it's in my window, get me the ride distance divided by 3, and get me the duration and divided by 3. And that will give me my average ride distance and average ride duration. Now, one thing that could be an issue is, what if there is no ride for the starting month? It'll throw a null, right? So when you use a left join, I'm left joining this accepted rides table to this rolling window table. If no match can be found from here, these will be null. I think that will throw an error in the case of this question, partially because I ran into that issue earlier. And so what I'm going to do, which is a little ugly, I would say, but like will help us solve the question, is I'm going to do a case 1 statement and set it to 0 if it finds no accepted rides in my window. So then my answer will just be 0 and it won't be null, which will be easier to work with that data. And so what I'll do is I'll do a case when ar.ride distance is null, then 0, else sum, and then we'll at our end. And I'll do that here as well. So case when AR ride duration is null, then 0, else that, and then let me put my end. And let me make sure that this runs. It looks good. So we essentially match their output, and then we'll submit it and make sure we pass all the test cases. But first, let's run through the solution. So what we're doing first, we are finding all the accepted rides in the year 2020. This is the data set that we need to calculate these average ride durations and distances from. And so we're first just cleaning up all of the input data that we're given into this very easy to understand CTE data set that we can then call on, which gives us the month, the distance, and the duration of each accepted ride. Then we build out a rolling window data set. These are the rolling windows that it wants us to use. So January to March, February to April, March to May, etc. And we do that, again, there's several ways you could do this. You could use recursive CTE. I chose to write them all out for readability, but alas, I guess. And so select 1 as starting month, 3 as ending month, etc. So now that I have my rolling window data set, I have my accepted rides data set, I'm now going to combine them. And so what I do is from the rolling window data set, or from the rolling window CTE, give me each month, and then if it can find an accepted ride that is between the starting month and the ending month of that window, I want you to sum up the distance of any ride that is between my starting and ending month, and sum up the duration, divide both by 3, and that gives us the average ride distance and the average ride duration. I group this by starting month So for every month, or like every, I guess, 1 through 10, it'll give me the average ride duration and the average ride distance. And then that should be it. So if we submit this, judging, it is successful. So runtime 2717 beats 70.75% of users. I guess that's okay. And maybe we do this one next. But yeah, that's basically it. Pretty straightforward. It really comes down to just this rolling window kind of being the tricky bit. But yeah, if you have any suggestions on how to make the solution even better, if you have any questions on why I did certain things, please let me know. But until next time, thank you so much.